Perkalicious.
Perk.
What's going on? We got these unique coffee cups that
I made these, but this one didn't come out quite as well as that one.
So they got the alien head.
They do.
Inside
They
a light bulb.
The bright idea of interstellar travel.
Yes.
So, how's your week been?
Shitty. How's yours?
Not bad, but you know what? This is 2 weeks because we missed last week because I think we were moving. Or did we?
We did last week.
We did last week. We missed the week before.
We did.
This is the first one we've fully done in the office.
Yes. This is Liam's office right here. This is what we call coffee headquarters.
This is coffee headquarters. I have the coffee maker. And I can tell you it has gotten a lot of use so far.
It has.
Yes, it has. It's become a cherished member of our family.
It is. You've named it, right?
Herbie. I just named it now. That's what his name is now.
So, we actually got the coffee pot here. Just waiting for it to heat back up.
Is it high going?
Nah, it's getting there.
It's getting there, yeah. That thing heats up pretty quickly, actually. So, how has your week been?
Well, again, it's been pretty shitty. Pouring some out for the homies that aren't here.
Right.
No, just bullshit, you know what I mean? But besides the bullshit, I've really been paying attention to, what's going on in the world. And the world seems like it's just nuts.
Man, yeah. Sometimes I want to yell at the TV screen. My mom is a news junkie, so she watches the news. Now, I'm not going to tell you what channel, but there's only 2 channels for news junkies, and I'm not going to name either of them. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe 3 channels. But so she watches one of those channels. And it's like, and I live where I take care of her, and I have to turn it on every morning for her. And she's always like, the first thing out of her mouth, can you turn it on? Yeah, sure.
Well, the channels that she watches, are these the national channels?
Oh, these are the national channels, yeah.
I feel like you only really get good, real news from the local guys.
You do. I mean, honestly, the stuff that's actually going to affect you is the local stuff.
It is.
Yeah. So I learned a thing about where I live, my apartment. I knew somebody had gotten shot there, and this is a while back, like years ago. Mm-hmm. But I had learned that I knew they got shot there, and they were on the front steps, and they died. But what I didn't know is they were shot in self-defense by the guy who lived on the 2nd floor of my apartment, mm-hmm. who had a house full of drugs and money and every other thing.
You didn't know that? I knew that.
I did not know that.
It was a big news story.
See, I had no idea. I live under a rock.
And it really wasn't that long ago.
2018. It was...
I mean, not that long.
Yeah, it wasn't 30 years ago. You knew that. I didn't. I had no idea, man. I had no idea.
Well, the reason I looked into it, first of all, I mean, there have been shootings in your neighborhood, yeah. But it's not as frequent as, like, my old neighborhood.
No, it's not.
Actually, the house I grew up in was shot at just a couple of weeks ago. Maybe not even a couple of weeks ago.
What is wrong with people? I mean, not to get all sit here with you and get all preachy, like, when I was a kid, candy cost a nickel and nobody shot anybody. No, but I mean, what the hell is going on? I mean, this is Albany, Troy, Schenectady, and around. This is not a massive city, and yet we got like this kind of crime.
Well, we are massive if you put it all together. So if you travel like the United States and there are, cities, they don't always have the same kind of metropolitan area.
That's true.
There's a lot of people here.
In the metro area of this area, the last I heard, this number is definitely different, was like 800,000.
No, it's over 1 million in the metro area.
Wow.
So we do got some people here. We got a lot of cities here, and our crime rate for as long as I could ever imagine was definitely higher than the national average. But I mean, so it's just wild. I think people are out of their goddamn minds.
Yeah,
it's pretty much where it's at.
I think that's just the whole country right now is out of its mind in one way or the other at this point. It's like pick the way you want to be out of your mind and do that.
Yeah, you know, a lot of artists are out of their mind, but they make artwork out of it.
Yeah, at least they're
Creative
productive.
about it.
They're productive.
Do something productive.
Do something. If you're gonna be out of your mind, be wholly out of your mind, and yeah.
But as I said in the previous episode, I think since the pandemic, a lot of people just didn't come back from that.
Yeah. But you know, speaking of out of your mind, did you read that they were able to recreate a Pink Floyd song from scanning the brains of like 6 people? Under the song, yeah. They were able to reproduce a Pink Floyd song. And the better, cooler part, the reason I'm even mentioning this, they were Albany Med people.
Really?
They were patients at Albany Med. I don't know if they were patients or they were in a study, but it was Albany Med where that happened.
Yeah, Albany Med is gigantic. It's a city in itself.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really odd. So what do these 6 people have to do with Pink Floyd? Like,
I don't know. Maybe they were just fans, or maybe they were like what I think, and I'm just going off my totally uneducated self here, is that they probably put him in a room, had him listen to Pink Floyd maybe a couple times, maybe, and then they did a brain scan and picked up that memory of them just hearing Pink Floyd. But I don't know. I think it would be much cooler if they picked like fans. Like super fans of Pink Floyd, and just scan their brain like they were just.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah,
but it's like, what are we going to use that technology for?
Shazam.
Right.
I don't know, man. No, that is terrifying. Actually, that's pretty terrifying.
A lot of things are terrifying right now. But no, people can't just seem to know who to trust or what to trust here in America, and that's what I think is really scary. There's a lot of misinformation being put out there. There's a lot of crazy conspiracies put out there, and then there's a lot of conspiracies put out there that might have some substance to it, but you don't know what to believe.
And there are conspiracies that are like, I mean, we think conspiracy, we think secretive.
Right.
But conspiracy is just 2 people deciding to do something and not advertising it.
Yeah.
There are open conspiracies, people working together to do stuff. I mean, if you look at like, here's a conspiracy that does not sound like a conspiracy. When you buy, okay, so Gatorade, not our sponsor, not yet. They had a bottle that was like a normal Gatorade bottle. And then they made a bottle that was all curvy and sleek, but they took 4 ounces of Gatorade out of the bottle. So it's like they did it all sleek to cover up the fact that they were reducing the amount of Gatorade you get by 4 ounces.
Well, they've
That's
reduced a lot.
conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, another one of those little snack packets that you get, those little sticks of crackers and dip them in the cheese. So now they're only giving you like, when they used to give you like 5 crackers, only 4 now.
And it's the same price, relatively the same price.
And it wasn't even, they didn't fill you up before. You still had to eat 16 of them in order to get something out of them.
Dude, look at those everywhere you go in the supermarket, in big old bags of chips, mostly air. You know, so conspiracy. These are all conspiracies. They conspire to rip you off by doing shit to.
It's lukewarm.
It's alright. I'm good there. A little lukewarm. So yeah, I mean it's just there's open conspiracies, and then people have to say, oh well, birds aren't real and the Earth is flat.
Right.
I kind of like birds aren't real. I kind of like that one. I kind of want to believe in that one.
Well, that one's that one's silly. Flat Earth. I personally, well, that's just, it's got a whole new traction going on.
Yeah,
The flat earthers are really, really at it right now. And a lot of what they say, really comes down to the fact that most of the images of the Earth that were taken are all like, they're computer generated, or they're art. It's not actually, pictures of the Earth. And, there was a guy, you might remember this. He was the guy who was like leading the front of the flat Earth movement, and he created like a rocket, and he went up. And the whole point was to prove that the Earth was flat. So when he came down, and I read the report, it was funny because he never mentioned anything about the Earth being flat or round. He more or less was just talking about his trip
It's like a donut.
Yeah.
It's like an eclair.
But here's the thing is that
Eclair Earth.
I think that the flat earth movement was put in there to basically discredit conspiracy theory in general.
Yeah, right. Make it so ridiculous that all the conspiracy theories, like, I'll be honest, man, like, this was an unknown, not an unknown fact, but a fact that when I was in grade school and they were teaching us this shit, I did not believe it because they didn't teach it that way. Columbus did not prove that the earth was round. They well knew that the earth was round from like 400 BC.
Well,
They knew the earth was round this whole damn time, and all of a sudden everybody's saying it's flat. It's like, come on.
I mean, there's even ancient writings in caves and stuff that had the map of the world. So I mean, there's clearly something to this world, but the thing is that when you get your news from TikTok or Facebook Reels or anything like that, and it starts warping around in your mind, you got to really take a step back, right?
I mean, I'll tell you, man, honestly, like, 'cause this is what it is when you got like the people watching the different news. This points to it, man, because if you watch one of the newses, you got websites that go along with that news.
Sure.
You got memes that go along with the websites that go along with the news. You got a whole ecosystem of information telling you that what you believe is right.
Yeah.
And it's the same for the other station. So so no matter what side you're on, you got everything that you can see telling you that your side is right and the other side is the devil.
Yeah.
And that's why we can't talk to each other no more, because people they did this to us. And not even that they did this to us. Social media was like, oh, this is what happens when we do whatever we want. And they did whatever they want, and this is what happened.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre time that we're living in. I can't stop thinking about how bizarre it is.
I know.
It's just like, man, people
Future shock.
people are out of their goddamn minds. And I don't know. But what I think is that, and maybe not a conspiracy so much, but there's a lot of diversion, a lot out there to make you not see what's actually going on. So, let's focus on this while this is going on.
Right,
That
exactly.
sort of thing. Like, right now, everybody's focused on, is Oprah responsible for what's going on?
Oprah is not responsible for. I'm sure she's responsible for some stuff, but not this.
I mean, I don't know. What would she really get out of it?
Yeah, like, she's a billionaire. She don't have to do nothing for the rest of her life, and her billions are going to make her millions and millions. So she doesn't need to do anything.
Now, do I agree that $10 million is like nothing to her? And first of all, if her and The Rock split it, I mean, that's kind of like, come on, you and The Rock, well, you yourself.
So what is it with The Rock? What's going on? I don't know this part.
So basically, she brought The Rock into it, and they decided that they were going to have the People's Fund of Maui. But this is at a time where everyone's kind of focused on the land grab that may or may not be true. And so in the first 24 hours, I don't know where they are right now, but when they put up, instead of just putting like all their money or all the rich friends' money in, they're asking the poor people of the United States to donate money, which has not really been sitting too well. So mind-blowing, between The Rock and Oprah, in 24 hours of this charity thing, besides the $10 million that they put in, how much money do you think they raised in 24 hours?
Man, I don't know if I'm going higher. Well, I'm going to say 24 million.
You would think it would be somewhere around that.
Yeah.
They barely raised 5,000.
Wow.
Because no one trusts them.
No one trusts them, yeah. Wow. But then again, honestly, like, you got to think, like, basically, if if all the people that got all the money were just to donate a little tiny bit, that wouldn't, like, if you ask me for change on the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to be like, okay, you want change on the street? Even if I don't feel sorry for you, even if I'm just like, I just want to get on with my day,
Right.
I'm going to give you $1. Now that dollar represents an amount of my spending power. Apparently my dollar doesn't mean enough for me to not just give it to someone.
Right.
So I can spare, the long way of saying I can afford $1. So if it's something that doesn't hurt you at all to give to help people, then why wouldn't they all just do it and then they'd have like 500 million?
Well, you know, it seems like, because first of all, there's no trillionaires in the world.
Yeah, that's true. Not
Because
yet.
that's bizarre. That's a number, if you were born until the day you died, and if you could count from 0 till, you know, if you lived 100 years,
yeah.
you could never reach it. I don't know if it's true or not, but I learned in school they said $1 trillion is so much money. If you stack like $1 bills on each other, it would like surpass the moon.
Wow.
Like it's that big of a number.
Wow.
But to me, it just seems like, first of all, no one needs that amount of money.
Nah.
And if you have that amount of money or somewhere close, if you're one of these, you know, the richest billionaires in the world with, you know, 100 and something billion dollars, I don't even think one person could fathom up $1 billion.
You know what would be cool if, like, when a person hits $1 billion, like that's how much they can have. I'm not saying you take the money away from them specifically, but every like $1 billion after the first billion, you just give them like a bronze statue of a dick, and and basically take that billion and give it to like, you know, filter it into like schools and you know, libraries and, you know, all that stuff, and then they get a bronze dick. And every other million they build off of that, they keep getting bronze dicks. So then when they want to outpower each other, like the guy that's got 3 bronze dicks has more power than the guy that's got 2 bronze dicks.
I mean, really, that's all it is. It's just seeing
It's
whose
just power
dick
markers.
is bigger, right?
Really, that's all it is at this point, yeah.
And,
You know,
Oprah's got a really big dick, from what we see.
yeah.
But, you know, like, all right, so if you take someone like, I forget her name, but Jeff Bezos' wife, right?
Okay.
When they divorced, you know, she got billions of dollars, so she decided, you know, I'm going to give away a lot of that money. Good, I'm glad.
Awesome.
Well, where are you giving it? Are you giving it to somewhere that's actually benefiting the world?
Yeah, that's...
Because if all of you rich people give money to things that would actually benefit the world, you know, you could literally like overnight change
the world.
Change the world, change America at least. So take Jeff Bezos' wife, right? So she's got all these billions. She has enough money, and if she wants to give it away, because that's what she's doing, she could give everyone in America $1 million, and it would barely even, she wouldn't even notice it missing. We could all be millionaires. Every 330 million of us, she can give $1 million to, and she wouldn't even notice the money was missing. And there's other billionaires like that too. Come on, help the world.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, honestly, you got to think, they said that there's 8 people that have more money than 3.6 billion people. So you got to figure, okay, so those 8 people have that much money, like, you know, if they just put, even if they put, let's say they put 90% of all the money they had into hired a really good consulting firm and figured out, okay, how are we going to change the world for the better? How are we going to make the world a great place to live for everybody?
Yeah.
They could do it in like a year. But they don't. They go on these space trips, these spaceship trips. Well, here's news. If they're thinking they're going to escape the planet when it goes roasty, man, space is a bad place. I mean, space sucks.
Yeah.
It's the worst place to try to live. We are nowhere near technological enough to go colonize Mars or even the moon.
So they say. I mean, well, I don't think Mars and the moon are really the great places to try out. There's got to be a great place out there, like way off somewhere.
Oh, yeah, right.
And I'm sure it's inhabited.
Yeah, right.
You know, so then we would be the aliens coming down and
I'm sure
shit out.
I'm sure their bronze dicks are way bigger than our billionaires' bronze dicks.
They got some really big bronze dicks. Yeah. But you know, just think about that. Like, so like when Charles Barkley was like early in his NBA career, Dr. J, who's just amazing. He kind of like coached him on not only like the game and how to like dress and be who he is, but he also taught him how to like preserve some of his money.
Wow.
So Dr. J asked Charles Barkley, he said, "How many cars do you have?" And Charles Barkley was like, 6. Dr. J was like, logically, like, how many cars can you drive at one time? It's the same thing with like these billionaires with like properties all over the world. Just stay in a freaking hotel like the rest of everyone if you want to travel.
They got, I don't know how much, I think it was 400 million or something, Jeff Bezos' yacht. And it's not even his only yacht. It's just, they actually had one of his yachts, they had to tear down like an old historical bridge somewhere in Europe to get his yacht to go through because it was so big.
Wow, that's
and
terrible.
the government actually did that for him. Like they wouldn't do that for me.
Right? I mean, you imagine how many doorways he's got to duck his head under, and the government won't make them wider.
I know, yeah. They won't fix code on the doors. I mean, seriously.
But no, I mean that's the thing is I think you got a big wealthy class, the 1%, which is probably less than 1%.
Oh yeah.
Really, and
like I said, eight people. What is that? That's 0.000000001%.
I just don't really see what good they're doing.
They're not. That's the thing. I mean, and you would say, well, they're billionaires. Their companies are putting people to work, and they're building products. But here's the thing: they're building products that a lot of times we don't need. They're spending millions of dollars hyping products so that we feel like we need them when we actually don't need them. Like they're making our expectations to the point where we want everything right away, all at once. Doesn't matter how they got to do it.
Yeah.
And then they go and they rip off their employees. I'm not saying like every single situation, but I mean a lot of times they don't get to be billionaires. I mean, if you see how Amazon, like that's crazy. Like
that's ridiculous. And
I shouldn't say Amazon. Like it's all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I hear that's a really shitty place to work.
Soon to be sponsored by Amazon.
Soon to be sponsored by Amazon. Switching over to the Red Bull right here. Definitely not sponsored by Red Bull.
No.
This is acquired taste.
Dude, I have never ever had a Red Bull.
No?
I'll tell you why. It's not because of the caffeine, or I think it's a million times over, but it's because I believe that Red Bull, I don't know if this is true, you can tell me. I believe that Red Bull is so citrusy that it's just going to burn my throat and give me heartburn.
I don't know, it's not really the citrus.
Because I'll have a Red Bull if you tell me it's not citrusy.
I don't think it's overwhelmingly citrus. But it does have 127% added sugars.
Oh, God, no.
So that's horrible.
I don't need that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, so that'll give you a nice heart attack right there.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of which, though, a lot of information's coming out right now about the food in America. Have you seen any of this stuff?
No. I seen this stuff 10 years ago.
But now it's actually come to the surface.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And now it's just really wild. Like, so many products that we can buy and eat in America, that's our freedom, are banned in like so many other countries.
Oh yeah.
Because, I mean, it's
GMO shit probably.
Well, that and just very unhealthy. Red 40.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And that's kind of equated to like, when we were growing up, it was like, I mean, maybe kids had ADHD and they just didn't have a name for it yet. There were some really crazy kids back then. But
here's a conspiracy theory. No, not even a theory. Here's a conspiracy. You go to this store, you buy snack foods and ramen noodles and all that shit and everything, junk.
Yeah.
And your grocery bill is $100. You go in the store and feed yourself with all raw, organic, natural, healthy stuff. Your grocery bill is $250. So they want us to eat the garbage that puts us in the hospital 20 years later.
Well, remember when Kanye West, who's just a complete idiot, but remember during the New Orleans...
dude, George Bush doesn't care about black people.
George Bush doesn't care about black people. Well, I don't think that they care about poor people.
They don't care about poor people. No, they do not.
And that's the thing. I go into Family Dollar sometimes because the snacks are really cheap, like we're gonna have a movie night or something. But I'm really big on juice, right? Try finding juice in Family Dollar.
Huh?
Oh, they have all sorts of stuff on the shelf that looks like juice.
Oh, it's drink.
But then you gotta be really careful. It'll say cocktail or something like that.
Oh,
and the
not
main
juice.
ingredient. So you think, just as a regular consumer, just going in there, not paying attention, I gotta get some juice for my kid. You're like, you think you're being good. You're not getting the Kool-Aid. You're not getting anything like that. And you get, like, say, like a grapefruit or a cranberry or something like that. And it looks just the packaging is the same as actual juice.
Yeah, and then it's...
And then you look at the main ingredient is high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah.
And very little actual juice in it.
Like,
so, yeah.
Not even 10%. No, like 10% is usually, I say, like 10% juice. Yeah. So, okay, so the Army, I read this. The Army has just issued a report, the Pentagon, that said that pretty much even right now, their people are too physically unfit, mentally ill, like those things like that, to join the Army. So basically, we're not going to be able to have an army because everybody's either too out of shape, too filled with drugs of legal and illegal sources. Basically, like everything they're doing to us to keep us down is now making it so that we can't join the army. So basically, they use the army to help businesses keep us down, and now we're too fat to join the army. So see how that is? That's like a dog biting its tail, isn't it?
It's pretty wild.
That's wild.
I mean, we do need to obviously defend ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't think we really need to take the offensive very often. Personally, for me, I think the only war that was really necessary within like recent modern times, I think was World War II.
Yeah.
I think that obviously you had to do something. I don't think that you had to drop those bombs on Japan. I don't think that was necessary. You look at like, so they attacked Pearl Harbor. Well, what's the difference between Pearl Harbor and like a 9/11? Pearl Harbor was a military base with, ultimately that makes it a target, right?
They said that they dropped the bomb because if we had to invade Japan, it was going to kill like 1 million of our troops or something like that, 100,000 of our troops. That's why they said it. They said it'll shorten the war by, so many years.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, that was crazy because each of those bombs killed like 70,000, 80,000 people in a pop.
So that, brings the question, everyone's talking about UFOs and aliens and how they, everyone knows that they've been known to go to like, places where the missiles are stored. They've been documented as being able to like dismantle nuclear missiles and stuff. This is like literal documents that said this has happened. And, any time that they're going to intervene, I think it would be a good idea to intervene, take out all the nukes, man.
Yeah,
what kind of
everywhere, all the nukes everywhere.
What kind of freaking world do we live in where that's even like a thought or a threat?
Because you would think, okay, maybe the whole deterrent thing, like because everybody has nukes, nobody's going to use them. It's gonna ensure world peace because the ultimate war is a nuclear one and everybody dies. But there are so many levels of screwing with people between using a nuke and not having war at all. Like there's all kinds of like when we went in Vietnam, all the stuff that they did to us, we did to them, all that stuff, that occurred while we all had nukes. We had nukes, it didn't stop war. So what does that mean?
Yeah, and then they say that there's a new weapon that the United States has that is above and beyond anything that's out there that you couldn't even comprehend, and that pretty much it's a win, like no matter what, like nobody could fuck with us right now. But like Jesus Christ, why do we gotta keep doing this stuff?
Yeah, that's
there's all sorts of bizarre stuff out there, so I'm glad that you tuned in. Hopefully you learned something.
Somebody learned something, yeah. Oh, let's cap this off with one last thing we should talk about because it's in the best interest of our viewers because they've listened to us about conspiracy theories and they're probably like, oh, these guys need to shut the fuck up. All right, but now we're going to talk about Axl Rose.
Oh.
Oh.
Just give it up, man.
Dude, I mean, we watched. I remember Art showed. Well, yeah, I remember.
Well, there was a recent
Yes.
concert here, last weekend?
Yeah,
in,
last
in
weekend.
the capital region of New York. Guns N' Roses. I hear some tickets were affordable and some were very expensive. And I hear it was like one of the most packed shows like ever.
Wow.
At the
I'm not
Saratoga
laughing because I know there's
Performing
people
Arts Center.
watching this and like, hey, I want a ticket, you asshole. But seriously, then you know.
But
He-
apparently, who do they say Axel sounds like
He
now?
sounds like Herbert, the child molester on Family Guy. He really does.
Wow.
I mean, if we had
Herbert the pervert.
if we had Herbert the pervert, if we had the technology, which we don't yet, we would put the video here of Herbert and Axl Rose singing over Herbert because he sounds just like him.
We have the technology.
We do have the
We ain't gonna
technology.
use it.
We can rebuild him. We can rebuild Axl Rose.
I mean, if they're gonna clone anyone,
Yeah, let's.
they should have cloned him a long time ago. The thing is like, come on, all right. So, Guns N' Roses, God, they really got their start in like the mid to late '80s.
Yeah.
Was their thing, and he set the bar really high for his voice because just some of those.
It's an
notes.
amazing voice, and he pushed it.
It's
Oh,
gone.
good, yeah.
So give it up. It was like, I always equate things to when Seinfeld left the air. It was the #1 TV show in the world, and he decided to end it, so he went out on top.
Yep.
And that's how people remembered him.
You know what is cool is that I think you've seen this episode where George, he realized like he would tell a joke and then they would laugh at the office and then he would go to say something else and then they'd be like, oh fuck you, and so he was like, he realized like, I'm just gonna go out on top. So he says a joke and they all laugh and then he gets up and says, I'm out of here.
Yes, I do remember that.
That's what Seinfeld did. He was
Yep.
putting the hidden message in that episode.
Wow, he actually did.
He
He's like-
did. Go on a high note.
The same thing with Motley Crue, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the musicians and stuff are still fantastic. They're still fabulous. But, I mean, the vocals just aren't there.
And you know the worst part of the Guns N' Roses thing, and I don't think nobody ever talks about this. If Guns N' Roses put out a new album and Axl Rose sang the way he could sing,
Right.
like actually the way his voice actually works now, and he sang that way, and they made up a whole bunch of new songs and went out, it would have been awesome.
Yeah, it could. I'm sure he could probably still sing. He just can't sing that
He
way.
can't sing those old songs.
He's got to
no.
bring his octaves down.
Right, he can't sing 1987, you know?
Nah, man. But, what is it? They don't have enough money or something?
Right, that's the thing. I mean, especially when they go in. I know artists aren't
Why are you
totally.
doing this? I would be totally embarrassed.
I know artists aren't totally responsible for the prices at the venues, but they're a little responsible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Guns N' Roses, I heard, Axl's vocals were horrible, but friggin' Vince Neil from Motley Crue was like 10 times worse.
Oh yeah, is he the one where they have the picture of like the abominable snowman, or is that Axl? I think that's Axl.
I don't know. I haven't seen
Yeah.
that one either way, but just horrible. And Vince just out of his mind doesn't remember the lyrics, so he's not even getting those right. You have no idea what he's saying. But, I mean, wouldn't they just come together afterward and say, you know what, let's call it quits?
I don't feel. I this is a controversial statement, and I'll make it. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad for the people that what I mean that went there and had to listen to that. I don't. Here's why I don't feel bad. Because you have every opportunity to listen to younger music. You don't have to be stuck spending thousands of dollars to listen to a band that was big in the 80s because you remember them and you have nostalgia. There are lots of bands playing locally. There are lots of bands that are just new, indie rock bands, and if you just picked up a magazine or something, found some band, listened to them, be like, oh, these guys are really cool. You could have a great show.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about anybody throwing their voice out. I mean, you could go to great shows. You don't have to keep going back to the old hits.
Yeah, that's the thing. But, surprisingly, though, the generation before that, the actual classic rock music,
Yeah.
most of those musicians could have done it way longer. Something about
Yeah.
something about the '80s hair band quote unquote metal.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what they say, like the 60s and 70s bands had something to play for, you know, they were trying to change the world. Maybe not the 70s bands. Well, you know, some of the 70s bands were trying to, the 60s bands were trying to change the world, the 70s bands. I heard this. The 60s people, this is not about bands, but the 60s the people were trying to change the world. They realized they couldn't change the world. In the 70s, people were trying to change themselves. Then they couldn't realize they couldn't change themselves. So in the 80s, they said, fuck it, let's get rich.
And do cocaine.
And that's where Guns N' Roses came in.
Yes.
And every other band like that. They came in and that, so I mean, that was the whole thing. Glam, coke, you know, trashing hotels. Like, I mean, that's what the whole thing was.
And now you got all that bullshit like Sam Smith dressing up as the friggin' devil. And, you know, that stupid nonsense where...
I don't even know who Sam Smith is.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, at one point, I think he was a very talented vocalist. Wasn't really into his music, but now everyone's, you know, about the... I mean, heavy metal bands would have, like, a lot of, like, satanic, like, images and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, these new, like, brand of, like, satanic, like, thing, they're just, like, almost, like, ritualistic with the pop music. Like all those guys are just completely insane. So fuck them all.
Yeah.
The God sorted them out.
Yep. All right, so that was our perk.
Perkalicious.
Not sponsored by Stewart's, but give us a call.
Yeah. What coffee are we drinking anyway?
Death Wish.
Death Wish.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor.
Not sponsored, but could be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when they could be, yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, that's when give us a call, really.
Yeah, for real. Bring me up.